Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome. I guess it's good afternoon. Welcome to make shift happen. There's a variety of different things we talk about on Wednesdays when we gather here in this, what I call sacred space, because it's not just you and it's not just I. There's other beings that show up as we gather together in communion with us. For those of you that are new to me, hello, I'm Tammy Lee. I'm a magical shift maker and wayshower and energy medicine facilitator, guiding and teaching others to reconnect to that profound magic within them, to their sacred self. So we can start connecting, reconnecting to that sovereign part of ourselves and start creating our heaven on earth, our new reality, our continued lifelong goals and aspirations of what we want our life to be like, to show up as. So many of us have hopes, goals, and dreams, yet because we haven't had people, we haven't had the right influences around us, we forget those thoughts and those dreams and those aspirations. And me included. And one of the things that I came to realize over the last few weeks of continuing doing really deep self work, but not getting into this analysis equals paralysis, just continuing to do the work. I realized I was holding people. See, we can hold ourselves on a hook where we don't let ourselves off the hook. We don't let ourselves off the hook. How many of you do that? There are so many levels of where we hold ourselves to such an extreme high standard that we can't even measure up to ourselves, right? And then we beat ourselves up. And something I realized in the last few weeks is I've been holding other people on a hook, not letting them off the hook. And I finally did. Not, on this spiritual level, on this mental level, emotional level. There was a deep yearning, a deep wanting within me. Like, for instance, with my mother, I wanted her to apologize for things from my childhood, for not being there. Well, even adulthood, for never being there, for putting herself above me. And I wanted an apology. Like, I could feel that deep within me. And you know how sometimes we want things and we want them so much, but they're underlying under this emotion. And as I was doing this deep work, came up how I hold other people on a hook, wanting something from them, which energetically, when we do that energetically, there is a disconnect. with that other person within that relationship. When we expect or deeply desire, even if it's underlying and we aren't not aware of it in the moment, it creates havoc within that relationship. Letting myself off the hook created a space within me. Letting others off the hook created a space and like a freeing up of. How many of you have shoulder pain? Just curious. Or stress headaches? Sometimes it's not just carrying other people's burdens. Sometimes it's carrying our own. Sometimes we develop a callus. And under that callus are all these thoughts and emotions that have never been met by these other people, that we somehow deep within us feel like they owe us something, whether it's an apology, whether it's money, whether it's time, whether it's respect. There are times when we hold other people on a hook. And sometimes it also comes from when we take responsibility for something that was never our responsibility to take on. So let me repeat that. Sometimes we let me rephrase this. Taking responsibility for something that was not mine to take responsibility for. We need to unwind this energy. Unwind the energy of taking responsibility for something that was not mine to take responsibility for. Unwind the energy of taking responsibility for something that was not mine to take responsibility for. And sometimes that's how we create hooks with other people. We end up taking responsibility for something that probably could have been somebody else's. And then there's this underlying thought, feeling, emotion. They didn't appreciate. They didn't say thank you. So I want everybody to look at today. I want you to look at where you're taking responsibility for something that is not yours to take responsibility for. Can you find one thing? Can you find one thing? I want you to think about this. I want you to think about this. Because what is the greatest, let's see, how do I say this? What is the relationship that has the greatest friction within it? And when we look at that relationship, are we taking responsibility in that relationship for something that is not ours to take responsibility for? And then being irritated or something, whatever thought, feeling comes to you, being like friction, like sandpaper with that other person. Are you feeling exhausted? Oh, wow, that energy just moved. Are you feeling friction within a relationship? Are you feeling undeserving? Because sometimes we take on so much that's not even our responsibility to take on, that we create our own, we can even create our own hell, ladies. So I wanted us to look at ourselves today. Joanne says, yes, holding one on a hook. All the shoulds we hold for ourselves and others. I've been unhooking my mom this past year, even though she's been gone since 1994. What a healthy and freeing release. That is my continual relationship to work on. It's incredible how many layers there is to that, to me and my mother. And I'm just thinking of my 5 children, like, wow, if they ever, you know, so I even work with that to where I unhook, continue to unhook each child of, because there's, so as a parent, okay, there's so many thoughts going through my head. I feel like they're getting jumbled up. Okay, so think about this. As a parent, do we do we keep our kids on a hook? I was thinking about this, like, oh my gosh, even saying they don't appreciate what I've done for them. They've forgotten what I did for them when their kids were smaller. You know, like one of those things. I'm like, wow, would I have done it different? No. Would I still have? Yeah, I still would have done everything. So allowing just to let it go, allowing to let it go creates a freedom within the relationship, creates a freedom within the relationship. Just like Joanne said, her mom has been passed over. So creates a freedom within that relationship to where even the ones that have passed over, it frees them up in their afterlife of whatever that is for them. When we create this space, when we create of allowance, of allowing other people to, for us to take them off the hook. Like for some reason, I no longer, and this has only just been within the last couple weeks, I don't expect my mom to apologize. I don't even need it. I don't even like think about it until like this was a point today of bringing this forth. It has created some freedom within that relationship. Is everything completely healed? No. Am I still working on it? Yes. Is there more freedom there? You better believe. Is there less friction? less gritchiness? Yes, there is. And there comes a point also when we can be in our truth and speak our truth without hesitation, whether or not that other person wants to hear it. So those of you that are joining today, if you're new to this or if you haven't done, look above where the video is playing and you'll see, you should see something says at the very end of the verbiage, it's asks you to click on the streamyard.com/Facebook. If you click on that, then that way it helps me to see you over in the studio where I'm at, StreamYard, because we have Facebook user and I don't know who that is, but so I want to apply, reply to you, but I just want you to let you know that if you click on that link, streamyard.com/Facebook, it will actually show me it's like you're giving permission for StreamYard to show me your name. Okay? So talking about having people on a hook, talking about how we have ourselves on the hook. Girls, girls, girls. How many times do we not even allow ourselves to make mistakes? To let ourselves off the hook of performing to such a high degree that you freaking blow opportunities because you put so much on yourself. You must save the world kind of mentality. When there's no saving to actually be done. When you put everything forth and you literally exhaust yourself as you're doing it. Do you know that you can literally be a victim of your own heart? And I'd not really like to say victim because if there's a victim, there's a perpetrator, then there's a savior. That's a 3-triangle process of energy worked that I work with. But we can literally think that we have to do everything for everyone else, that we don't even take times for ourselves. When you take responsibility for things that are not yours, when you take responsibility for things that is not yours to take responsibility for, you deplete your energy, your thoughts, your life stream, your physical self, emotional self, mental self, spiritual self, etheric self. So I want you to start looking at what is really your responsibility and what is not. What is really your responsibility and what is not. Because sometimes we actually enable others, even our children. Sometimes we enable others by taking responsibility for things that are not ours to take responsibility for. I have a really good friend. And we've been friends since 1999. And we speak truth. It's not always pretty, but we speak truth with each other. And that's what I've always wanted. That's the kind of friends I've always wanted, right? Well, you got to be careful what you ask for, right? because boy, when he speaks truth to me and I don't like it, oh, he's like a brother to me. I love this guy. Well, when about okay, so I've known him since let's just say, yeah, so 22 years. I've known him for wow, 22 years. And one day, so probably 10 years ago, maybe 15, and I'm 59 right now. So this would have been in my 40s. He told me, he's like, Tammy, you're not allowing your kids to make mistakes. You're not allowing this and this and this and this. And I was like, I was pissed. I was so pissed. But what he said, and I didn't talk to him for weeks, but I was a different person then than what I am now. And what he said was so right on. And oh, and I know what it was around. It was because I was so protective. I didn't want them to experience any of the pain like what I experienced growing up. And not knowing that I was overprotecting, that I was taking responsibility for things that was not mine to take responsibility for, which enabled my kids, even though they, and I could see little parts, little pieces of, and it helped to change the way I raise my kids. It helped to enhance. It helped to even teach my kids. It helped them to know and to learn how to be responsible for their own stuff. So where are we? So I want you to think about this. Where are you taking responsibility for something that is not yours to take responsibility for? It could be tough, right? It could be tough to actually like see something like, oh, wow, I'm taking responsibility for that. That's not mine to take responsibility for. And then you got to like maybe tell a person, like, here, I'm giving this back to you. I just realized this is not my responsibility. This is yours. And you give it back, whatever that is. Give it back, give it back, give it back. So just think about that. Take a deep breath right now. Just take that deep breath and think of one thing. Think of one thing that is not your responsibility to handle, to even take on, to complete. And allow yourself to feel not having that responsibility anymore. Even if it's as simple as making a poster. I don't know, all of a sudden I just saw a parent making a poster, like a mom. How many moms take on so much responsibility? Or grandmothers? How many teachers? And just being able to say, you know what? This is not my responsibility. This is whomever. And we open up the space for ourselves. And we hold the other person, other people into a higher degree of even respect. Even respect. Because then they start to respect themselves. How many times do we take on wanting, I don't know, children are really coming in right now. How many times do we take something on that we do for a child thinking they can't do it for themselves, or thinking it has to be perfect within the adult mind, and not, and we take responsibility for that job or chore, or, and oh, this is interesting where this is going. And it doesn't teach them anything. Okay, so case in point, this just thought came up. So responsibility. It was my son's responsibility to clean his bathroom, to clean his bathroom. I was not going to take on that responsibility. This is only an example. If he didn't clean it right, I literally, there were times he had to get a toothbrush and scrub the floor and scrub around the toilet. Did he not like me then? You better believe he didn't like me. Years later, he moves out. He's living with a roommate who's a total disgusting slob. I care for the guy, but he's a total disgusting slob. Ugh. Nice kid, though. And my son comes to me. He's like, Mom, thank you for teaching me how to clean. If it wasn't for me, our place would be disgusting. My son would have been living in filth. But because I did not take on the responsibility to clean the bathroom, his bathroom that he was in charge of, because how many moms would say, or dads even, say, it's not good enough, I'll just do it. Ugh. And then you have this, fine, I'll just do it. It's not even good enough. Okay, Christmas is coming up. How many times you want your kids to help or grandkids to help decorate the tree? I hear this is quite a big a problem. Then I mean, I don't, but because it's cool however it goes. But then it's not good enough. So you take on the responsibility to make it a little bit better, to make it a little bit more perfect in your eyes. But in the long run, the kids, like, it wasn't even good enough for how it was created and decorated. That's where, when we take on responsibility for things that are not ours to take on, creates so much havoc within us. So what's one thing right now you can think of? The holidays are coming up. Thanksgiving for us here in the United States is next the week Thursday. How much do you feel like everything's got to be perfect, and you put this stress on you? Now, if you have the space and time, maybe it doesn't feel like stress. I was feeling stress. So what do? We've done this for years. Now that my kids are all adults. But even when they were still home, they had, okay, you make this part of the meal, I make this part of the meal, Dad makes that part of the meal. So Thanksgiving's coming up. We all do that here. We have like 25 to 30 people that show up for Thanksgiving. That's all family. So what is not your responsibility to take on? So you can enjoy the gathering. So you can enjoy the holidays. So many people are saying they don't even like the holidays. Oh, it's Christmas. Are you kidding? Because they take on too much responsibility that is not theirs to take responsibility for. So then there's regrets, right? Then we put people on a hook because they're not performing to our standards. Joanne says, yes, Montessori Montessori. Not sure if I'm saying that right. Curriculum teaches, facilitates, and supports children taking responsibility for their life's work. Wow. They discover self efficiency, self worth, and a sense of value. They thrive. Well, that's wonderful. Is that taught in school, Joanne? Montessori. I've heard that before, but I don't. Or is that in certain schools? I can't think of the kind of school. We have one here in Kansas. I know a lady. Oh my gosh, Waldorf school. Is that a Waldorf? Is that what they teach in Waldorf schools? I'm just kind of curious. We have a lady locally that what 5 years? Gosh, even long, 10 years ago. Wow. Ah, okay. She actually moved from Hayes, where I live by, to Lawrence, Kansas because they have a Waldorf school. I did not know that. Can you imagine that? A curriculum that teaches, facilitates, and supports children taking responsibility for their life's work. Waldorf is similar in that they both value the child's developmental needs. Okay. She was it. Okay. Thank you for that information. Dr. Maria Montessori, MD, was an educator. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so just take a deep breath. Feel where you're at. And check yourself. Were you taking responsibility for something that is not yours to take responsibility for? That's one. Now, check another thing. Where are you? Where are we holding somebody on a hook? Are we wanting an apology? Are we okay? So here's something in an apology. Okay, let me see. How do I say this? So my husband, like I'm a kind of person that says, I'm sorry. He doesn't say I'm sorry, but I wanted the words I'm sorry. That's what Tammy wanted, right? He does his sorry in other forms and fashions, like he'll make a meal or he'll do this or he'll do things that is comfortable for him because he's not a communicator with words very easily for him. Easily for him comes an action. So what are we? How are we holding people on a hook? Just think about that. I wanted to hear, I'm sorry. I didn't realize, like, for years, I had this in the back of my head, and I just discovered this in the last few weeks of I just want him to say I'm sorry. That's what I wanted my mom to say. I'm sorry, Tammy, for all the hurt and pain I caused you. Perceived hurt and pain I caused you in this lifetime. You know what? I may never hear that. I may not even hear anything like that, but I was in the subconscious level holding my mother and my husband on a hook. Even my kids for different things in different areas. And Oh my goodness, when I realized that, so I let them off the hook. And you know what? Okay, so we call these what's the word? Uh, feedback loops. So when you do any kind of work, when we do forgiveness work, when you do energy work, when you realize something. So I'm realizing this. And I do my own energy work and I take them off the hook and I'm just like, wow, and I realize this. And it's a consistent thing for me because I'm still learning this and I still want to integrate it. And what's the feedback loop? All of a sudden now. So how is it showing me that it's working? My husband's speaking a different kind of like he is speaking in a language that I can understand or that is feeding me. Okay, maybe that's a better way of saying it. He's talking in a way that's feeding me recently. My kids are showing up more to like um we spent all day yesterday decorating the outside. Still got a ways to go, but we got so much done yesterday. It's like they have time for me now. They have time for me. They're making time for me. Do you understand what I'm saying? We create space. We create space, ladies, by taking people off the hook. By when we realize, wow, I've been wanting an apology. Or wow, I've been wanting this or that. When we realize these things, when we realize these things and we actually do the work to release what and it could be and it doesn't have to be anything real. It's just as simple as, oh wow, I wanted my mom to apologize. Oh wow. I've been wanting that for so long. It's actually been self detrimental. I let that go. You can just say that. I let that go. I release that. I let that go. I don't need that. I don't need that. And when we just like when we're in our heart space, it doesn't have to be a big mumbo jumbo. Don't have to like light the fire and throw something in the fire. It does not have to be difficult. It can be easy. It can be easy to let people off the hook. It can be easy to let yourself off the hook. And when we do that, we actually allow a forgiveness energy to come through. Forgiveness of self, forgiveness of the other person, but a lot of forgiveness of self. An allowance of space, an allowance of time, an allowance of allowing these other people to show up as who they are instead of what we want them to be. Wow, right? We allow others to show up as who they are instead of what we want them to be. When we take people off the hook, we allow them to show up as who they are instead of what we want them to be. Think about that as Thanksgiving and Christmas are coming up. I mean, really? Would you really just like them to show up as really who they are? just really who they are, to allow them to come forth fully in every way, shape, and form, and take off the expectation of what you think they should be. Could teach you something. I got all these people going through my mind. Not really. Um, whew, wow. You know what? We might just wake up to to a new type of relationship, to a new way of being with another person. When we take people off the hook and allow them to show up as who they are instead of what we want them to be. How many of you get are you how many of you are understanding what I'm saying here? Can you feel the freedom in that? Uh-huh. Can you feel the freedom in that? Feel the space in that? Even like there's a new breath in that. Because that will show us whether or not, if we're irritated by allowing somebody to really show up as who they are instead of what we want them to be, do we get irritated by that? If you do, what is it about you that's irritated? What is it about you that's irritated? Because that's what wants to be looked at. Because sometimes we put projections. I know, right? Doggone it. We do that though, girls. We can put projections on other people. Sometimes that's leaking energy. Sometimes we're even um, sliming them with our energy because we want them to show up how we want them to be. I know, I know. I do it too. I just love these conversations because I'm just thinking like, oh my goodness, well, who am I doing that with right now? And then once we notice, we take back our energy, we take back our projection, and then the truth can come forward. It could be, wow, I really like this person. Or it could be, I really don't want to hang around them that much. And that's okay either way. Even if they're family members, even if they're your sibling, your parent, your child, it's okay to not want to be around certain people. It's okay. There's times when I don't like my grandkids. I love them, you better believe. But there's sometimes I just don't like them. It might last maybe an hour or two, maybe not even, maybe just for a few minutes. But that's truth. And it's okay that they don't like me. That's how I raised my kids. It was okay that they did not like me. It's okay if they hated me. I wasn't going to get all hung up on a child saying, Mom, I hate you. Some parents are just like, oh my God, my child hates me. Okay, that's a whole nother subject for another time. Yeah. So Joanne says, okay, Carol says, yes, totally getting what you're saying. Joanne, yep. What I wanted from my mom was for her to love me for who I am rather than never being quite what she wanted me to be. What was she what she was afraid I might be if I didn't listen to her way for me to be. Yeah. So see, your mom put a lot of projections on you, didn't she, Joanne? That's a lot of energy. Yeah, wow. Thank you for that. See, that's what I put on my mom because exactly what your mom did to you, I did to my mother because I wanted her to be this and this and this and this and this. And she never measured up. But that hurt me more by keeping her on the hook about that because it was always a disappointment. Like there was always disappointment. Like, holy cow. But I did not realize that I kept her on a hook, wanting her to perform. So why was I always frustrated every time I would be around and I'd leave? I'm like, there was always disappointment. There was always frustration. Somewhere it just lingered until I realized in the last couple weeks I've been holding my mom on a hook, wanting her to perform a certain way that she'd never, I don't even know if she's capable of. Do I love her? Yes. Yes, I love her. And I choose not to be in her energy very much. But I'm also healing that to where it may be different, to where I see and I can understand, because I do understand. I see where this all comes from. Her mother died when she was 2 years old. Sorry. Her mother died when she was a teenager, I think, or between 11 and 13. From the age of 2 until her mom passed, my mother saw her mom growing up sick. So, and she had some kind of cancer, like ovarian or something. I don't know. But anyway, so my mom never received the love and the care from her mother, more from her older sister. Anyway, so I understand where this comes from. But does it feed that little girl in me? Hell no, it doesn't. So I got to take care of that myself. So by taking my mom off the hook, maybe I can even enjoy her more as a person instead of mother. Joanne says, wonder if we were taught from the beginning that we are each unique, special, and important, and then learn how to be with each other in a supportive way, which includes telling the truth from the heart. Yes. Telling the truth from the heart, even when it stings, even when it's scary, even when it stings, even when it's scary. The scariest relationship I have for that is with my husband. Wow, I'm really letting you guys in, aren't I, today? It's with my husband. It's and I'm still working on that. Okay. But this morning I had to get really like, come on, dude. And show him where he needed to be responsible for, where I'm not responsible for certain things. I'm like, no, I'm not taking that on. That's not my responsibility. Even though his health is, he's got some health challenges right now, I'm not going to be a nursemaid. I'm not going to be, we have to be careful, ladies, to where we do not become, now there's times when we have to show up. Don't get me wrong. But there's also times when that other person kind of grabs our energy and tries to pull us in. And I'm not saying they're conscious about this. No, we have to be conscious about this. because it will drain us. It will drain us. And the other person can get so used to you doing something for them that it slips their mind on how to do it themselves. Okay, so think about a couple of things. Where are you taking responsibility for something that is not yours to take responsibility for? Write that down. Where are you holding other people on a hook? Where are you holding somebody else on a hook? Where are you holding yourself on a hook? That you're making yourself exhausted and crazy and you're so strung out because you expect yourself to live to a certain degree and a certain expectation that nobody else does. That you might have a perception of somebody else maybe wanting you to live up to a certain expectation, but that's could be in your head. Were you holding somebody else on a hook, wanting them to perform to a certain degree? Will you let yourself off the hook? Will you let yourself off the hook? Will you let yourself off the hook? Will you allow to let yourself take these other people off the hook and allow them, and allow yourself to show up in who you really are? Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining today. I love you, I love you, I love you. I wish you the very best rest of the week. Let's keep this conversation going on inside our Facebook group. And if you need anything, just reach out to me. Now I am off to go. What do I want to say? Not separate the cattle. Uh-huh. But we have a lot of cattle at home now. My pleasure, my pleasure. I'm going out to be the cowgirl. It's been a whirlwind of different events around here, ladies. I will tell you. That's another story. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining today. Take care. Really, take care. Much, much love.